Hello guys, welcome to this video, and in this video we are going to talk about information links in Spotfire. So what are information links? It is nothing but queries that you can store in Spotfire to fetch data from database. As simple as that. Queries that you can store in Spotfire to fetch data from database. Now, since Spotfire is more like a drag and drop tool, it is same as writing the queries without writing them. So basically you will create the queries by just drag and drops. For example, let's say we have some queries in our MS SQL and we want to create the same queries in Spotfire through information links. Okay, so we have some queries here and we want to create the same queries in Spotfire as an information links. So for example, let's select the first query that we have here. Okay, so select two columns from the table product. Okay, so we have this database called as AdventureWorks from where we will be pulling this data. Okay, now before we actually jump into creating information link, let's simply understand how to create it theoretically. To create a very basic information links, we can divide the task into three steps. First one is to set up a data source. Second is to create elements, and third is to create the information links from the element. Okay, so just remember that the first step is generally one time activity, so you can just say only once. Okay, and the remaining part will depend upon your use case. Okay, now let's understand how do we do these things in Spotfire. Now as we mentioned, right, we will be creating this query, or I can just zoom in so that you can see it properly. So we will be creating a simple select query for two columns from a table. Okay, we will be creating simple select query for two columns from a table product table. Okay, so our first step is to set up the data source. So we will go to the Spotfire, we will go to data, information designer. Okay, so information designer is a place where you create the information links. Okay, so first of all you need to set up a data source. So we will go here, click on this one. To set up a data source you will need few details. First is you will need to decide what type of database you are connecting to. So in my case it is SQL Server. Okay, and then here you can provide the details. For example, my server, since it is on my local computer, I can give the local host, or you can go to the command prompt and just say host name, and you will get the host name, and just copy this host name and paste it here. Or you can just say, if the database is on your local machine, you can just say localhost. Okay, now I am running it on the default port, so you can give the default port 1433 for SQL Server, depends upon your database. My database name I can pick it from here, so my database is AdventureWorks 2019, and and I'll just go here and paste it here. Also I'll put the username, so I think in my case it is SA and the password is secret. Okay, once you have entered the details, give it a proper name. We'll say my data source. Okay, and we'll save it. So for now I'll just save it outside. Okay, in the library itself. So I just say save, and I'll just remove this one so that it does not confuse you. Okay, so now you can see here it has been saved. Now we have done the first step, that is to set up the data source. Second step is to create the elements. Now, if you go to the start page of the information designer, you will see create element option, and there are different types of elements. We will not go into detail in this video, but then for our purpose, we will create column elements. So if you want to create a single column, you can create a column element, or if you want to create multiple columns, you can create a multiple columns element as well. It is just here you can do the columns in group. Here you have to create column one by one. Okay, so for simplicity for this video we'll go one by one. So we'll create two column elements. One is again from our data source. In my data source I'll go to adventure works. From there I need to go to production schema. Inside that I have the product table, and from the product table I want the product ID. Okay, I'll say, and now this one I'll save, and I'll save it outside itself, but I'll call this as product ID. Okay, and next column that I want is I want to create one more column element, so I'll call this as name and save, and we'll call this as name. Okay, you can change the name. For example, I can call it as product name, not an issue, and then save it. Now I have created my data source, I have created my two elements, right? So I'm done with the second step. Now I need to create an information link. So to create an information link, you go to the start, you say create information links, and here you can pass the elements that you have created. Okay, and then simply save it. You can give it like first query, something like this. Okay, or maybe first IL, and then save it. So now you see the IL will have a symbol of a link or a chain, you can say. So we have created a data source, then elements, then our information link. So once you create the information links, you can open the information links either from here. Okay, that is one way. So you can see that I get my data here. Okay, and this data is actually same as running this query. So basically what you have seen that here I have to write the query, but if I do the same thing using information designer, even though if I don't know the SQL, I can still create the queries using drag and drop, or I can still write a query to bring the data just using drag and drop. Now there is another way to open the same information link is by going to the plus icon. You can go to the Spotfire library. From here you can see the information link is also available here, so you can just double click this one and it will load the information link. So I can load it as a different table. Okay, and I will call this as information link 2 or something, whatever you want, and then you can load it. So if you see here, the second table is also same. So you can directly open it from the information designer, or you can just go to the library and navigate to the specific information link to open it. Now a small part is if you go to the information designer now, and if you go to the information link that we created, if you double click this one and if you double click this one and go to the SQL of this one, you will see the query is same or very much same to what we have in the SSMS or Studio. So here in the Studio we have to write the query, and here you can use drag and drop to create an information link. So this is the very basic information link that we have created. So now we have seen how do we create a very simple information link that mimics this query. In the coming videos, we'll also see how do we create an information link to bring all the columns from a table. We'll also see how do we add a where clause without writing the query. And also we will see how do we create joins between the multiple tables in the coming videos. And we will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye. Take care.